Hey, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of Cosmic Convergence. My name is John. I'm joined here with my brothers, Daniel, Grey Druid, Christian, Transcendence. You can find us on TikTok and YouTube. We like to cover a whole bunch of topics from UFOs, spirituality, NHIs, you name it. And there's been a big story that's been breaking this past couple weeks, and it's about how this group of skeptics that are very organized indeed, and they are deeply rooted within Wikipedia as being editors or controllers of pages that all have to do with the phenomena or psychic abilities, near-death experiences, NHI, David Grush, Ross Coulthart, you name it. And they've been on a rampage for longer than we've realized. In editing pages, taking out pertinent information, changing terminologies, and adding their own positive spins on each other on their own separate Wikipedia profile pages like Mick West and such like that. So it's been quite a debacle, and I wanted to thank personally Matt Ford from the Good Trouble Show for really bringing this to the front with his guest, a researcher by the name of Mr. Rob Heatherly. I want to thank you both so much for bringing this to the forefront. And I know that it's brought across luminaries like Lou Elizondo has made mention of it, that it's about time that we all stand up and fight for this.
So I run a Wikipedia editing group, and it's an international group of approximately 150 people. We're located on Facebook in a secret group called the Secret Cabal, because these are private groups or secret groups. You can't join them. I have to allow you, and I have admins that will allow you to join the group. But we check you out because we don't want to allow, somebody in who's, infiltration. Oh my gosh, yeah. So that's where we spend a lot of our time. But we've worked on pages on UFOs and spontaneous human combustion and all kinds of different topics that are pseudoscience or misinformation. Wikipedia is the single most important tool in the skeptical toolbox that we have. But we keep track of all the Wikipedia pages that we have made a massive a rewrite to or have written. And we are now at 1,230 pages, and we keep track of how many page views those 1,230 pages have, and we're at 51 million page views, over 51 million page views. Homeopathy, we've changed that page drastically. The lead, the very, very first couple sentences of the page, which most people is the only thing they read, we've used the word quackery. I mean, that's so awesome.
I am so proud of these people and the other 100. I have 113 people, and I'm always looking to recruit and require more.
The public deserves to be able to make their own decisions on these matters without somebody having to babysit them and tell them what they should think or what they should believe. And all I have to say before I pass it on to my brothers is this: when we're controlling a narrative, how much are we actually learning? And when that narrative is being controlled, who's controlling it? And what's their motivation? I mean, as we'll kind of go with is some of these skeptic groups, they have quite a bit of money behind them and a lot of big names. Neil Tyson deGrasse, that's one. Mick West is, of course, another one. Bill Nye, the science guy. And others, and other names that I'm not yet the science guy, and there's others that I'm not sure of. The names don't ring true to me. We're going to go ahead and investigate this, the three of us, and hopefully, as a result, we can maybe even interview some of these people that are involved with this and try to have an open discussion on both sides.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's one of the things after we were watching the video on the Good Trouble Show, that something Rob mentioned was that they don't allow opposing viewpoints either. They're just going back and like changing the history of what's been added. So that's just very like weird. And when checking on how the documents were edited and changed, like viewing the history with a tool that he mentions, he notices this collaborative effort to do this. And it's just very weird because it's very like of all the times to be doing this, especially collaboratively, it's right around when we have this major attention on disclosure right now, especially with Congress. So it's very, very strange. And I don't think it's coincidence that this is all happening now. So it's just like you have, they're removing the doctorates at the beginning of someone's name, like Dr. Hal Puthoff or uh, Eric Davis, and all these other people who have been these luminaries who've been in this field, like putting out information for a long time. So it's just strange to me that they're doing that. And also, if there is anything positive, Rob had mentioned that they put it more towards the bottom. So you're not seeing that. You're seeing more of the negative aspects of whatever they could find to fill your head up with that first. So you may not even bother going to the bottom. So that's very peculiar. It seems very one-sided, and it's like you guys were mentioning earlier. These guys aren't scientists. They're not the doctors themselves. They have, like, what research have you done? What facility have you worked at? Especially when it comes towards like mediumship or any of that stuff. That's one of my areas that I've looked into. What about the facilities like IONS, the Institute of Noetic Sciences, or NDERF, or even DOPS, Division of Perceptual Studies, these research areas and labs where they are testing a lot of this stuff like mediumship, non-local consciousness, psychic abilities, things like that. And they actually have data, but it's like not even mentioned. So it's weird that they're just ostracizing all of that information. Like, nope, it doesn't exist. They must be crazy. And even using uh, like what they did for Corbell, like just erasing investigator and putting UFOologists or even Michael Schellenberger and just giving them like the axe. And I don't know. It seems very sketch to me.
Yeah, saying things like taking out states, like David Grush stated. They'll say David Grush. They'll take out stated, and they'll say David Grush claims that this is. I mean, little small stuff like taking off Ross Coulthart's achievements and awards, and then throwing in things like, oh, he was involved in a brawl in the studio when actually he was trying to separate the two people that were having this argument slash brawl. But they spin it to where it's like, oh, well, no, he was involved in a brawl. He was the one that was fighting with somebody. And so then he was let go. It's it's all about the manipulation of a situation, the manipulation of words, because they know they do understand. They're very smart. They do understand that the words that are used have a meaning with people. So like claims and describes, or
Paints a
that's a
picture.
big thing. Yeah, it paints a picture. So they are wordsmiths, and they do work with each other back and forth. I'm sorry, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, going off of that as well, they also, if they get any type of pushback, they're able to rely on over their 150 members, to be able to target different pages or have rebuttals against other people about this situation. So they kind of have a whole orchestrated team. And, a lot of these people, again, going over with Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Mick West are all part of the Skeptical Inquirers list. And these are a lot of different members in there, including the founder of the Guerrilla Skepticism is part of that group. So it's very peculiar that, you have all these people in the same, it's not even a, let's debate about this and let's, it's a just, well, let's make a mockery of everyone on the other side.
So here we have the skeptic group. Well, this is a webpage called abouttime.org. It's an organization with these three skeptic groups that are aligned with it. I don't know if there's more. Let's find out. Yeah, well, there's Ms. Gerbeck herself. Okay, but here I just noticed that we have a 2023 message from Susan. I'm curious about what Susan has to say. So, hello, fans, about the Time Project. 2024 is quickly approaching. Need to update. It's 2024. And as we are a 501c3 organization, We would benefit from your help replenishing our costs from 2023, as well as supplying the funds we will need for 2024. I think you guys are funded pretty well, but I don't know. I can't see your stuff because you're a 501c. Anyway, our activities. We have big plans for 2024 where we could use a helping hand. About Time supports the work of dozens of volunteers through its status as a nonprofit charity. Your donation helps the skeptic movement bring people together, get critical information to millions of people, and make psychic mediums look over their shoulder. So they're telling you that's the target, the psychic mediums. We get big results with very little, so every one of your dollars counts. In all volunteer organization, nobody draws a salary. That's interesting. So they're doing it out of their free time. How honorable of them. Just dozens of volunteers giving thousands of hours of works to projects, stretching every dollar, blah, blah, blah. We'll skip the Monterey County Skeptic Camp. That's catchy. Wikipedia, since that's relevant to our video today. Disinformation was one of the year's biggest stories. It's not going away, but we can counter it through pre-bunking and fact-checking. Pre-bunking and fact-checking on the world's largest information platform. Nobody works harder at double-checking sources and making sure Wikipedia pages line up with the reality that our multilingual volunteer editors. Their work has been seen 154.5 million times since the project began, adding close to 2 million pairs of eyeballs per month across more than 2,000 topics. Oh, look, they have a scholarships. That's nice. And yeah, we'll skip on the Day of Giving and all that. Well, thank you, Susan. That's very informative. We also have the Skeptical Inquirer, which was brought up by Mr. Ford and Mr. Heatherly, which is very interesting as far as their connection to Guerrilla Skeptics. I'm not really too sure, but that's the name of one of the biggest skeptic groups, Committee for Skeptical Inquiry. They have a newsletter. I'm not getting paid for this endorsement of the Skeptical Inquirer. Okay, a magazine slash articles. But let's look at the fellows and staff of the Skeptical Inquirer. These are some of the people that belong to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and scroll through here. If anybody, Richard Dawkins, okay, that's a big name. He's very anti-Christianity. All right. And so we have Richard Dawkins, and we have, don't recognize a lot of these names, but it doesn't mean that they're not important. Bill Nye the science guy, science educator and television host of Nye Labs. Seth Shostak. Now, my buddy Seth, I don't know him personally, but I feel it, him and I are close because we're all interested about outer space and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. SETI, right? Mountain View, California. He's the head of SETI, which is searching for extraterrestrial intelligence within the universe, but yet he's part of this skeptic council. I'm very curious about that. Why? Is that why he's always debunking, experiencers and debunking UFO videos and debunking all that other stuff because he wants to find it through the SETI Institute? Or does he not believe in it entirely already? Here's another good friend of ours, Neil deGrasse Tyson, astrophysicist, blah, 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 Hayden Planetarium, New York City. Get a rope. New York City, that's also where they make your great, tasty salsa. But he's not very spicy, Neil deGrasse Tyson, because he doesn't believe any of that stuff exists either. Susan is also in here. But yeah, you guys can find this, by the way, by going to skepticalinquirer.org, fellow and staff. But let's just go back to the Skeptical Inquirer. Their revenue in 2022 was $5.57 million. Their total assets for 2022, $7.92 million. Now, of course, I don't have any proof that they are together with About Time and Guerrilla Skeptics, with the exception of Susan Gerbeck is on this list. There she is. Susan Gerbig, founder and leader of the Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia project. So there could very well be a correlation between her 501c and the Center for Inquiry Incorporated, which does the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry.
Very, very interesting that all these people are in the same room. Essentially, I grew up with Bill Nye. It pains me to see that, because I'm like, oh, well, there we go. That's mainstream view, and like it being held up by these people that are very popular and have have had a public say for decades now.
And I seen one video with Bill Nye, and one of the people who was responsible for filming a UFO. That's not what he was trying to film. He was trying to film a rocket test, and he was on the news. And I remember seeing a clip of that video where he was attacking him for that. And it's pretty funny, though. You got to look that up. I think it's in one of Greer's documentaries, but where they show just that one clip, if you just want to watch that. But I see the attempt, is my point. I see the attempt to silence those who have some kind of information and wish to share it.
Where are these funds coming from? Is Bill Nye donating $7 million? No. Something tells me maybe he's donating some. Maybe they're all chipping in to make sure that this boat keeps afloat. I don't know. I don't see there. I don't have access to that. And I know that there are some that are investigating it.
Anyone who seems to go against the grain is removed. Their access is removed from contributing towards any
Correct.
edits.
They own some of the pages. Like I believe they own the Lou Elizondo page. They own some of the pages. So it's easy for them because they're the original author of that page. And so they have complete and utter control of that. It's unfortunate. I mean, I would hope that in this day and age that, we could have an open debate about it. But Wikipedia is not supposed to be about a debate. See, it's supposed to be about, history and occurrences. And it's supposed to be factual. Okay. So one could argue, well, there's no proof about UFOs, or there's no proof about this or the other. But there's also a fact that there isn't any proof about that. So you have to kind of, until that comes out as definite one way or the other, you got to keep both sides on there. But Wikipedia is not set up to where it has, like, let's say David Grush's claims. And then after it goes through like the history of, his born, when he was all that stuff and everything he did with Congress and everything he said that he did. Okay. There's not a section underneath there that says, hey, we disagree with what David Grush says, like a skeptic section. Even if there was a skeptic section in the Wikipedia page, they probably wouldn't use it because they have so much control over it anyway. And it's like you mentioned, Daniel, we have, when we go to college, a good professor will tell you that Wikipedia is not a reliable source. And this just goes to show this is, thank you to my instructors that told me and the rest of my class that Wikipedia was not a reliable source for information. We have a whole generation right now that does not realize that. And so, like you said, Christian, when they go and they do research, whatever Wikipedia says is gospel. And so, guerrilla skeptics know that. That's why they said that it's their number one tool.
So this was a commenter on the YouTube. So I go by Diffuse56. Quote, I'm a college professor who runs a research writing seminar called The Paranormal. I've been teaching it for the last decade plus, so I have interesting job of getting university students to look at reality from multiple viewpoints. Every semester, topics are chosen from a list of suggestions I supply are on UFOs. As you may heard, the go-to source for undergraduates is Wikipedia. It's been obvious for me for a long time that Wikipedia has a bias against anyone that falls under the heading of paranormal. I tell my students that they use Wikipedia as background information or in a way to generate bibliography for their projects, but do not trust it when it comes to honest, open-minded skepticism versus debunking. And I always get out a Wikipedia article and show the class that Wikipedia isn't based on intellectual inquiry, but serves as a shill for debunker bias. So I know of this problem, but now I see that it's far more nefarious than I imagined. Thank you guys. And I also point out that Wikipedia often uses as obsolete version of the scientific method. So thanks for enriching my lecture prep for this part of the problem as I go in the UFO research community faces on a daily basis, end quote. In the comment section on the Good Trouble show with Matt Ford, it summarizes up pretty well what majority of people face on a daily basis, even people who are trying to research the topic. This is something that we're trying to, get out in the open with disclosure. We're trying to get this out for, from the government and whistleblowers to get to the bottom of the truth. And when it comes down to these type of groups and people trying to disseminate information and make the everything just that much more confusing and editing stuff for biases, that's just it sets us back, both sides.
One of the things I noticed, especially because I know it's more her field where she's targeting mediums and stuff, is that these skeptics never mention veridical evidence, veridical cases. And veridical evidence, and I have a thing I'll read here, and this is at IANS, the International Association for Near-Death Studies. One of the most fascinating aspects of NDEs is veridical perception, in which the near-death experiencer reports seeing or hearing events during the NDEs that, given the condition and or position of their physical bodies, should have been impossible to perceive, but are nevertheless corroborated as accurate. Because this phenomenon should be an impossibility given our current understanding of how the brain functions, it has aroused intense controversy and interest. And they never mention these, and there are actual numerous cases that you can actually look into that go into the specifics of such cases, but they never bring it up. They never bring it up. And one of the things I want to share here is by good man, Mr. Stanton Friedman, no longer with us. And he said that there are 4 rules for skeptics. Number 1, don't bother me with the facts. My mind is made up. Number 2, what the public doesn't know, I won't tell them. Number 3, if you can't attack the data, attack the people. It's easier, which is exactly what we're seeing. And number 4, do your research by proclamation. Investigation is too much trouble, and who's going to know the difference anyway?
I would like to add in number 5, shout down the opposition.
Yeah,
that's a big one. Thanks for sharing that, Christian. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and move this forward in more of the investigation of the Wikipedia edits and posts. Again, I want to thank the Good Trouble Show for bringing this to our attention. It's very, very important that we all know this, regardless of what side of the fence you're on. I think that we all, as a society, and this includes other countries, because Wikipedia is translated into many languages, and a lot of these editors that have been editing these posts have accounts spread out throughout all different languages. And so if they edit one in the United States, it's going to be edited for Portugal. Just as I was thinking, as you guys were talking about it, I know that I was doing some research for a video about a month ago, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Wikipedia and kind of check out what it says about this. And the description that I found was severely lacking. And now that this has come public, now I know why. This is not just a flash in the pan. I guarantee you right now that edits are still being done, and that by the time people view this, 10 more edits or more on one topic will be changed. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we can look at some examples. We have one of the tools to where you can find out what edits have been happening on Wikipedia. So the address is https://xtools xtools.wmcloud.org/top edits, as in one word. Here we go. So here's a list of the edits that she's done. Here's 8 edits on ghost hunting. So this will bring you to a page of the edits. Okay. So 1 minor edit, 7 major edits. She's edited a total of 8 times. Manual edits, semi-automated. Let's see, she's deleted 746 characters. She's added 2,333. Okay, so let's look at this count. Minus 5 500. Okay. And what you could do is you can find out what was taken out by hitting diff for differentials. And that was on 4/28/2011. Interesting. She's been doing this for a very long time. Now you can get all of this this code here from Wikipedia. In wiki text, go up here, click visual, and while it generates. So she has taken out things like many individuals around the world have formed their own nonprofit paranormal teams to help others determine whether they are experiencing paranormal activity around their location or not. An example of a nonprofit paranormal team is the Afterlife Hunters Paranormal. Hi, Afterlife Hunters Paranormal, located in Southern California, USA. Many paranormal teams have websites that can be found via Google, Yahoo, etc that will accept donations but will not charge anything for investigations. That's been taken out. She did not find that pertinent, so that should be taken out. Okay, so that was just one example of an edit. So this is what she's added. According to investigator Benjamin Radford, hey there, Benji, nice haircut. Benjamin Radford is part of the skeptic group. Most ghost hunting groups, including Atlantic Paranormal Society, make many methodical mistakes. After watching episodes of Ghost Hunters and other similar programs, it quickly becomes clear to anyone with a background in science that the methods used are both illogical and unscientific. Anyone can be a ghost investigator, failing to consider alternative explanations for anomalous phenomena, considering emotions, feelings as evidence of ghostly encounters, improper and unscientific investigation methods. For example, using unproven tools and equipment, sampling errors, ineffectively using recording devices, and focusing on the history of the location and not the phenomena. In his article for, what do you know, Skeptical Inquirer magazine, Radford concludes that ghost hunters should care about doing a truly scientific investigation. I believe that if ghosts exist, they are important and deserve to be taken seriously. Most of the efforts to investigate ghosts so far have been badly flawed and unscientific, and not surprisingly fruitless. And so they took out the previous stuff and they added in a whole bunch of self promotion and debunking theories, just saying, you know what, this it's just a whole bunch of human error, and there's nothing more to it. So there's an example with that. So here we have Ross Coulthart's information as far as how many edits. Okay, we've had average time between edits is 1.8 days. Average edits per user is 4. Okay, average edits per year 131 as of right now. Edits made by the top 10 editors 97, 74%. Okay, so they've taken out. Coulthart has won 5 Walkley Journalism Awards, including the Gold Walkley and the Logie. Okay. And they've taken out links of Fairfax Reporters China Journalism's Best Honored, and they've taken out Ross Coulthart joins 7. So they've taken out legitimate interviews or articles or information from reputable sources that deal with Mr. Coulthart. So there's a lot of editing on this one. So let's say Coulthart has won 5, took out the word prestigious, Walkley Journalism Awards, including took out most coveted top award for Australian journalism, the Gold Walkley they left. They've taken out that he, in 2010, he reinvestigation into, took that out, he reinvestigated, so they changed a little bit of wording, the murder of 2 young Australian tourists by IRA terrorists 20 years earlier. Took out revealed new evidence suggesting complicity in the attack by Irish Sinn Féin boss. Took out in 2008, he uncovered one of the biggest ever medical scandals in Australia, the Butcher of Bega. It won him the Gold Walkley, but also the Gold Walkley for Best Investigative Report. So they're taking out things like the Logie Award for Most Outstanding Achievement in Public Affairs. They took out the gold medal at the New York Film Festival for Best International Report. and for an investigation in how Indonesian and militia killers in East Timor had gone unpunished for their crimes. Took out Ross as the co-author of 2 best-selling books, Dead Man Running and Above the Law. Both exposes an organized crime in Australian and international outlaw motorcycle gangs. They did change in 2008. He wrote an Australian medical scandal entitled The Butcher of Vega. The All Domain Anomaly Research Resolution Office denied Grush's claims, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. We'll keep that in for humor. Doubted the veracity of Grush's story because the Pentagon would not have cleared Grush to release classified information to the press. Oh, look, Seth Shostak. So I bet you anything this came in on a previous edit. And if anybody watching this wants to investigate that, please feel free to do so and get back with us. Okay. So there's Mr. Seth Shostak. What a last name. Senior astronomer at SETI Institute. Yep. Same Seth. Made in his testimony, writing on MSNBC.com about Grush's claims, they took out made in his testimony to Congress. So they took out that he made testimony to Congress. Grush says they're here, but either he can't prove it or he won't. Until he does, we should consider his stories to be just that, stories. See, that's taking out what Seth Shostak has to say about, oh, poo-poo, this is poo-poo, right? So it's taking away his debate about Grush in this Grush interview, this Grush article, to make him look better. Remind you, they're doing this in their spare time on their own free will without payment. So where that 5 million or that 7 million from that other Inquisitor group, allegedly. Here's a little bit of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to Sean Kirkpatrick. Yes. So they added at this part on the 2023 House Committee Oversight and Accountability hearing. We all know what that was, right? That was Grush's testimony in front of Congress. Thank you so much for setting that up to all the Congress people, namely Tim Burchett and Luna. Thanks for doing that. But following the July 26, 2023 congressional hearing, Arrow's director, Sean Kirkpatrick, wrote that contrary to assertions made in the hearing, Grush has refused to speak with Arrow, so that some details said to have been given to Congress had not been provided to his office, and also that the hearing was insulting to the officers of the Department of Defense and intelligence community who chose to join Arrow, many with not unreasonable anxieties about the career risks this would entail. So they added in this article by Laura Seligman called Insulting Pentagon's UFO Boss Torches Claims of Alien Cover-Up. Politico, archived. Prototype orb, big metallic orb that has like all these sensor equipments, is like the ball or the UAP of the orb in a box or a sphere in a cube, I should say. And we've researched that, and people have determined that no, that is not the case. That is actually something that can only be used on inside, and it's a prototype, and it hasn't been around since the 1960s. So when he throws that out there, and it doesn't take long to investigate, and they're like, well, no, he's kind of full of crap. And then I see people commenting in other videos, well, why didn't he bring that up when he was going and testifying, in front of Congress, and say, no, we figured what those orbs are. They're these Chinese developed spy orbs, right? And they're more advanced than our military technology, because according to our military, we don't have anything like that. But he didn't come up with that stuff. It's just now, since he's left Arrow, that he's starting to get backed up and saying all these things. So, backed up by the skeptics.
Let's also not forget that Grush testified under oath. Kirkpatrick did not. And Grush was also stating that I did reach out, and you have to prove that I didn't, because he says, I've called, I've left messages. And he said this under oath. Now, why someone would go out of their way under oath to lie, given the ramifications if you're caught lying under oath, is unprecedented. So I just want to state that, so he could say whatever he wants, but until he's like under oath, and I feel like he won't do it. It seems like somebody on Kirkpatrick's side is lying.
All this topic and debate, especially with going into 2024 about the phenomenon and trying to get, more information and just get more stuff out there. We're not advocating against skeptics, like, and not being in the field or not willing to debate. Like, people being skeptical, people having a particular field that they have expertise in and they don't, and they reject the spiritual aspects or, woo or different things of the, phenomenon. That's one thing. That's okay. Everyone can kind of have their perspective, but with these type of fringe groups that are doing this to, quote, steer everyone towards the truth, they're not doing anything but, just being psyop agents, and it's not helping anyone. They, if they're really truth seekers, and they're going to be, actually wanting to investigate, and it's a real shame. It really, really is. And this is something that I really hope that we're able to, if we are able to get an interview with them, and have this discussion, it would be, potentially fruitful of figuring out what's the reason besides creating chaos and information that's confusing for people. Because, we want the truth. We're not trying to just look up information that fits our agenda or bias, that our scientists or physicists, they should have those same standards as well and not have a establishment bias. This needs to be an open conversation.
And you notice how many establishment people they were in that list. I mean, a lot of people I don't know, but if you were to like look at that list, you're gonna find out that they're psychiatrists, that they're doctors, that they're scientists, that they're all these top positions, instructors, teachers. I would say that when you take on those job responsibilities, that you should be taking them on in service of humanity. And when you're shutting down part of the argument, then you're not really doing a service to humanity. I mean, if it doesn't exist, let's find out that it doesn't exist once and for all. If it does exist, yes, yeah, we should have some proof. To say that, if something's not physical proof that it doesn't exist is silly, because no matter what we try to present, whether it be video footage or photography or markings on the skin or circles on the ground that radiate, like crop circles on all this. Oh no, it's all bunk. Well, then show me. You want me to show you that this stuff isn't real, or that this stuff is real? You better start showing me that it isn't real, right? It's like Kaku said, the burden of proof is now on the government to say that these things don't exist. That's the burden of proof has shifted. If you guys expect for us to put up and shut up, it's about time that you prove that the jellyfish UAP that was put on Jeremy Corbell's, shout out to Jeremy, very good job, put on Corbell's show on TMZ, a pack of balloons. Well, then you better prove to me it's a pack of balloons, and not just by fabricating some balloons afterwards and tying them all up and kind of setting the whole thing up. I want proof that those are balloons, and by reliable sources, not somebody that isn't involved in the military and somebody that isn't a scientist. I mean, if you want us to be straight up, time for you to be straight up. I say that with all due respect. We should be sitting down and having these conversations. I hope to speak to Susan Gerbic. I really do. I don't dislike any of you. I understand. Believe it or not, when I hear of a UFO story or I hear about an experiencer, I go in undetermined on whether I'm going to believe it or not. I go in with my mind open to either it's real or either it's false. Because yes, there are people out there that will try to take others for a ride. You have some within your own organization, Susan, that are trying to take people for a ride. It's a human thing. We all do it. So instead of slinging mud, which I'm not here to do, but instead of being behind the scenes and changing wording and trying to manipulate the message and try to program people's minds to think one way or the other, I think that we should all be adult enough to sit down at a table and have a discussion about it.
I think we're all trying to figure out what the truth is, and I think we can all get on the same page with that. We have contacts with people that have degrees and have clearances and other things like that, and they've had an experience of the phenomenon. And I think to fully discredit anybody's story and just to say that they're a whack job or to attack them in that way is a real disservice to everyone. It's a real it's shameful. It's not doing your job as a journalist or someone who's trying to actually be forward in the truth of the matter. And that's something that would really like to see from this group, get better out of, being able to, instead of modifying information, they're able to fact check and, have accurate data. And that's the key thing, right? Accurate data, whether it's pro UAP, UFO, or the other side, actually having accurate information is the most important thing. If there are certain events that come out that actually are, were fake, or they were balloons, or, whatever have you, the intelligence community's psyops and, Project Mockingbird, for example, other things like that, where they are anti-UFO, anti-phenomenon, they want to control a certain narrative. That has to be, you know, um, always in the background, when we're going over facts and data. This is a chance for us to be able to have this dialogue with these other group, they believe in what they are doing.
Anyone, especially in regards to the UFO field, UFO phenomenon, whatever you want to call it, will, the more research you look into it and the more cases and things like that, you'll start to notice that there is a tie between non-physical phenomena, psychic phenomena, you can even say spiritual phenomena, all intertwined. So there's a lot of work that's already been done, and a part of Grush's allegations are, and this goes into like Mockingbird and everything, is that there has been an intentional disinformation campaign to mock, and it's what created the stigma in the first place, right? For a long time that stigma held strong, but now it's falling apart. Because why? We have more evidence, and evidence comes in many different kinds: verbal, anecdotal, physical, according to some of that is in labs. They haven't shared that publicly yet, only some things. Dr. Gary Nolan talks about this and shares some of that on camera. There is more evidence to show that there is something happening than there's nothing happening. Where is all of that stuff coming from? And if there was really nothing, why is it such a big deal in Washington right now? Why are they fighting so hard to deny this when all they're doing is asking for information? Why? There's no there, then why are they stonewalling?
I want to thank everybody for watching Cosmic Convergence. And, we can't do this without you, without your likes, your comments, your subscription. And I want to again thank Matt Ford and Mr. Heatherly, for bringing this up to us, and not just to us, but to the entire world. I want to go ahead and offer the table that we sit at. That's for Susan to come join us, and for Mr. Heatherly, for all parties that have been mentioned in this video, to sit down at the table with us and have a good adult conversation about it, with no hands tied behind our backs or anything of the sort. Let's just meet and have a good discussion, because we really need to get to the definite bottom of this, okay? And fighting back and forth or doing things underhanded or under the table on either side, because I know it happens on the other side as well, just is not getting us anywhere that we need to be. And it would be a lot better if we work together, and even though we have differences, work together for that common goal of finding out the actual truth about the matter. Then we're going to make life easier for you, me, and everybody. Okay. And isn't that what we really want? Life's too difficult as it is. So I want to thank all of you, including Guerrilla Skeptics, for what you're doing, I guess you could say, because we're not going to get to the bottom of it until everything's transparent. So let's be more transparent. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching Cosmic Convergence. We wish you all well. We love you all, no matter what side of the spectrum that you're on. Follow our links for TikTok and YouTube. We'd always appreciate any interactions. Again, like, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. Have a good day.